Hey guys, Waifugate here. So today we're going to be doing another deck guide. This time it's over Lurrus Sultai control. So the whole goal of this deck is to sort of counteract the new Rakdos discard Dreadhorde Arcanist deal. You guys have probably seen it. Arcanist. So Dreadhorde Arcanist says whenever it attacks, you may cast instant or sorcery card with a converted mana cost less than or equal to its power from your graveyard without paying its mana cost. If that spell would be put into your graveyard this turn, exile it instead. So they use this with Thoughtseize, and it's ignorant, it's terrible, and it's ruining best of one. Now in best of three, you can kind of counteract this type of thing, and a lot of other meta decks, they use Lurrus to be able to cast this back from the graveyard, therefore being able to cast other copies. They've got a lot of new tools for that deck. It's very, very powerful. And in best of one, it feels very overwhelming and suppressing almost. So I was trying to kind of counteract that because I've been liking the best of one wish meta, where you can kind of be greedy with a control list, which is what we're kind of doing here a little with Fae of Wishes. So the whole idea behind this is to counteract that deck and a couple other ones that are very powerful in best of one. Goblins, UI auras, stuff like this, okay? So Thoughtseize can kind of get a Muxus or Shirk Prospector if you get to go first and you have a swamp. How does this deck function anyway, instead of talking about matchups directly? So we use very cheap spells, Deadweight, Enchanted Creature gets -2/-2. You can cast this with Lurrus. All of our stuff has to be less than 3 mana. That's the whole deal. Anything in our starting library has to be less than 3 if it's a permanent. So you can see Aether Spellbomb here. Tap 1, sacrifice it, draw a card. Soul Guide Lantern, very helpful against the whole Thoughtseize thing. You can exile their graveyard and kind of take away some of their combo points, you know. Basically makes Lurrus useless, which is nice. Their Lurrus, not ours, because we exile their graveyard, right? We can't use Grafdiggers because then our Lurrus is useless, and what's the point of that? Fae of Wishes, which allows us to utilize the best of one sideboard. Lots of cool tools. All of our win conditions are in here aside from Lurrus himself. We can win by swinging with Lurrus. It does have lifelink, which is very useful against aggro actually and burn. If we can stabilize, now it is a 3/2, it's pretty easy to kill. We'll get to how we can recur him later in a second though. So basically all of your win cons are here on top of some spot life gain, spot removal, etc. Some really good best of one tools there. That's the whole point of Fae of Wishes. Omen of the Sea, just so draw engine, it's really nice with Lurrus. You can pay 2 mana, drop this from the graveyard, and you can keep sacking it to scry, etc. You'll probably have more than enough tools. You probably never bring this back, like the same copy of it at least. Mire's Grasp, just a little bit of higher end removal, -3/-3 hits Mayhem Devil. That's what this is for, mainly. Trespasser's Curse. This is mainly for goblins in a way that they can't like just Krenko you down and like just automatically kill you, because the more goblins they produce, the more life they lose. So they actually just have to one-shot you with Muxus at that point. For the most part, like they can't summon too many goblins, or they just end up bleeding out. And it's just nice against decks that go wide in general. It's just a nice one-of that you can cast and kind of slow goblins down with Lurrus from the graveyard. This is the bread and butter of the deck, the Bindings of Titans, okay? So not only do we have Soul Guide Lantern to exile combo pieces, we have this, which is each player mills 3 cards, which helps them out, yes, I understand this. But the second part is exile 2 cards from graveyards. For each creature card exiled this way, you gain 1 life. So a little bit of life gain, not a lot though, usually 1 or 2 life tops. And then return target creature or land card from your graveyard to your hand. So this allows you to self-mill to get things to cast with Lurrus, to get toolbox cards basically. Find certain answers, find your one-ofs, etc., right? It's kind of nice. And then on top of that, you can return target creature card or land from your graveyard to your hand. So you can grab Fae of Wishes back if it mills over, right? And you can grab Lurrus back if he ends up dying. So they actually have to exile Lurrus, or you just infinitely bring him back. That's the cycle. It's something I saw on stream like probably about 3 or 4 months ago, and the deck was pretty cool. I just never figured out how to make win cons work with it. The win con here is just countering the stuff in best of one, and then going for something really obnoxious in the sideboard, like a Cure Best Sea God, a Jace if we end up self-milling ourselves, that happens a lot, to fairies, to mill them, because we're still milling them with binding, stuff like that. So that can be a win con too, but it's basically pick your win con from the sideboard type of deal after you've stabilized. And then we've got one Hydroid Krasis. This guy, we can also pick up off of the Binding of Titan's third Saga counter. And we have 5 board wipes total, which I think is okay in best of one, like, especially if we can tutor out like another one if we need to, you know? It's not too terrible. Also, Extinction Event probably belongs here. So that's like the basic premise of the deck. We've got a Bajuka Bog as well that we can get off bindings in case we need more graveyard removal. Plus the 1-of doesn't really hurt us. It's not like we're running Kobold Stronghold for X amount of swamps. Gives us X amount of mana and stuff. We don't have any type of limitations there. So the mana base is pretty basic. We've got like a 92% chance to cast like the worst card, I think, on curve, potentially, but all of this is like 1 mana stuff, so it's really easy. So let's go into matchups and the general, like that's the general game plan, is just to Thoughtseize, play things on curve, Omen to get some stuff going, search for a board wipe if you need it, mulligan strats, keep deadweight, keep Thoughtseize for sure. Soul Guide's pretty safe, like it's a draw a card at the worst, and if you're up against Saktos, you're going to need this. And bindings is okay. Helps you secure land drops as well. And then Mindstone is a ramp engine, so this is really good in your opener. Plus, if you need to crack this early to find a board wipe or something, you can get it back with Lurrus and still ramp up with cards in your sideboard with Fae, etc. Like, it just allows you to do more stuff. It's flexible. So that's the overall game plan. Everything in the deck is pretty cheap because, Lurrus kind of forces that on you. So that's kind of a nice... it's like a double-edged sword. Like, yeah, we don't have any top end to draw into aside from Krasis and Fae, but hopefully we can find it. So that's the deal. I haven't tested this list a lot, but in theory it seems really strong. I'm gonna next stream test this against viewers and stuff with the Saktos list to see how it shapes up. So there'll probably be an updated deck guide video going over that, and I'll link it to this video as well. Now, if you're just here for the gameplay, there will be some timestamps down below. You can just click on that, and that'll do, that'll skip you to the gameplay. I think we ended up playing against like Gideon Extra Turn, some Jeskai stuff similar to some of my other lists from one of the viewers. But I do want to test this deck a little bit more. So good matchups, bad matchups, and such. I would probably say like anything running Eugene is pretty rough, because aside from Thoughtseize, we don't really have a good answer to that. Like, if we suspect Eugene and that's the only thing that we can really lose to, since Field of the Dead isn't a thing anymore, and what's the top end for ramp now, we can Fae of Wishes, Necromentia, and call out Ugin, the Spirit Dragon or whatever. So that's like an option, but it's not the best option. It's just an option. And there are probably better sideboard cards here. Like, I think Elder Spell's pretty necessary. Maybe not Immortal Sun, maybe not Best Sea God. It's just like, we've got some options, and some of them are good, some of them are pretty not min-maxed yet, because I just brewed this up on a whim. So this is more of like a prototype. But I think it's got a lot of potential in the best of one meta. I think if you're struggling with this deck, which is why I made this deck for best of one, probably just play best of 3 with Graphidigger's Cage, and you can pretty much win that matchup. Like, it's not 100% great, but unless they're packing a Braid, you're pretty okay. Like, destroy target artifact hurts the Graphidiggers a bit, but if we can recur our stuff, it's not too bad. In this list, it's kind of hard to bring in Graphidiggers because that's what our deck is about too. So Goblins, I'd probably say it's like 50-ish, 50-50. It depends on if we see our board wipe, if we have ramp into our board wipe, or if we see deadweights for Prospector. If we can deadweight the Prospector, it's pretty easy, or Thoughtseize the Prospector, or Thoughtseize the Muxus, etc. We can keep that deck pretty much in check. We're very suppressing once we get rolling, and there's no way they keep up with our value, like, kind of late game, especially if we end up, getting our Necromentia for Muxus, and then that shuts off, like, half their deck. Because then they just don't have that burst power. They've got, like, maybe a Krenko or something, and it's not too terrible, especially if we get Trespasser's Curse rolling. So there's that. I would say Dreadhorde Arcanist. We probably have a good matchup, but I need to test it more. I didn't really get a lot of sample size going with that. But in theory, we shut down all of their graveyard stuff with Soul Guides and such. And we don't really rely on one artifact staying on the table. So a Braid and Bedevil don't really hit us as hard. It's like, yeah, blow up my Aether Spellbomb, I'm gonna sack it in response. I'm gonna exile your graveyard in response, you know? It's not too bad, is what I'm trying to say. And we have really good removal for a lot of their engines, so especially with their board wipes and exiling and such. Like doing this on evens for Croxa is pretty good. This guy here, he's even. I always think that he might be like he's a little tricky, these ones with the escape and stuff, if they use a different type of mana than they are. Like Uro, for example, is odd even though his escape cost is even. So just pay attention to that if you're up against an Uro. It's sort of a minor point though. I think those are the main matchups, like for the most part. If I'm missing a matchup, go ahead and drop in the comments below what you're curious about, what I think about this matchup or that matchup. I'll try to get back to you guys as soon as I can with that. So with that being said, we're going to jump into the gameplay. Ace, dude. This looks okay-ish. Good land base. He might be running like the extra turns deck, maybe? It is Jeskai though. So I'm gonna go Mind Stone. Wish I had like a Soul Guide Lantern to also dump there, or like another 1 mana card. Would have been nice, but I think playing above curve is pretty important here. 2 Maze Mines, okay. I dig it. I'm just gonna go Bindings here, and then keep up Omen. Oh yeah, he's running extra turns for sure. That's pretty, it's gonna be pretty rough to beat that, honestly. Like with Gideon and such, because I don't really have a lot of answers to Planeswalkers. So maybe that's my weakness as well. I think the land isn't terrible to keep, but I'm not getting anything off of the bindings here. It's pretty sad. I'm gonna go like this, so I can try to at least get a land here. How you doing, AF? You're doing well, dude. So yeah, they're using the same type of stuff that I was using for the other extra turns deck. I think Paper Bag like brewed on this first though, like before I messed with the list too much. So they're drawing a card there, trying to get Gideon probably. Like, I think having some type of answer for Planeswalkers is probably important. I'm gonna get like a Bajuka Bog here, maybe. What do they have in their graveyard? We'll grab the Overgrown Tomb. I'm gonna go Thoughtseize here. See what's up. Give me that sexy hand. Our set's reversal. You punk. You're gonna take Thoughtseize. Yeah. They probably have a Pact of Negation, I would say. Bindings again. Well, I appreciate that, AF. Hope you've been doing well, dude. So we're just gonna mill over some more. Basically, this is like Eldest Reborn tech. Like, we just keep getting back the Lurrus and cranking out value. But it doesn't beat these, like, greedy extra turn decks, I don't think, for the most part. Like, we have to stop, like, Gideon, basically, which is tough. Like, we're gonna have to get like, a Necromentia and hope that they don't have a Narset's Reversal. They also probably have Approach of the Second Sun. Oh no, I don't think we beat this deck though. It's rough. I wasn't too chill earlier, to be fair. It's kind of garbage. They might just try to draw land off of that Maze Mine. Like tap 2 draw, because they're really far behind on lands, and I'm just going to keep taxing them each turn. Won't be a streamer as a career? Yeah. It's not easy, like, I don't even know if I'm really the best for it. Like, I'm trying to get there, but there's just a lot that I don't know as a streamer and as a player for Magic, so I've been trying to improve, but sometimes it can be pretty rough at times. It's a really difficult turn for them, I think. Yeah, they're just going to try to hit the land drop and they whiff on it. That's rough. Especially when he's running like ops and stuff to fill the graveyard. Like, that's a tough spot to be in. We're going to get rid of Reversal and probably Clarion. And we're gonna get back probably like Woodland Cemetery here. That way we can keep casting spells each turn. I thought we're just casting this again. Expansion Explosion, what? What are you doing, Paper Bag? I don't know what he's doing. Oh, this already has lifelink. This guy's a baller. I could try to draw a card with Mind Stone, I guess. Close. Because if I draw a card with Mind Stone, I could get Thought Seize and maybe see what they're doing. Yeah, financial stuff's pretty rough. Like, I'm in a pretty fortunate situation with the roommates and stuff right now. We're crunching some numbers to see if we can do some investing eventually long term. See if we make things a little easier. Yep. So they just Gideon Emblem here, I think. It's fine. I'm gonna crack this. I don't really need either of those. Like, the land's good, but I kind of just need to find like, I already have a land for the turn, so I can take the Bajuka Bog just to have tech to exile the graveyard with. We're kind of milling them out, but they can just Gideon Emblem. The problem. I need to find my Fae, honestly.
What was your name again? I see so many of them come. Want me just play pretend? All your girls, they just wanna have fun. But it's the same old thing that we all see. Same old thing that keeps me clean. I just wanna be alone with you. Just wanna be alone with you. Same old thing keeps me around. If you wanna come around, baby, it's cool. And if you wanna fuck around, baby, I do. Just wanna be. Man,
maybe I need 3 Faes. Because they're going to be able to Gideon Emblem and like use Pact of Negation and stuff. Well, that's going to be really tough to beat, honestly. And they're gaining life here too. Like the only way we win is like by bouncing this, but it only works with a creature. So like we can't bounce this to begin with unless it unless they kind of get there with it. Like, yeah. Expansion. Okay. Yep. They get 2 extra turns here. Dark Typhoon. Oof. That's a big mood. So pretty comical end there for the viewer game. I think Paper Bag honestly probably could have won that one. He just forgot to read the cards, which happens to all of us from time to time. But I thought it was kind of a nice, relaxing game. And those lists are the ones that we typically struggle with like extra turns and control. So it kind of shows how like even if you think you've lost the game, sort of play to your opponent's outs as well. Like if your opponent punts, maybe that's one of your outs. So something to consider when you're playing games. So if you guys are interested in deck guides, I usually do 2 to 4 of them a week. So go ahead and hit the subscribe button here in a minute. There'll be one in the M panel if you want some more content, and there'll be a check out next video as well. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to pop them in the comments below, or stop by my stream. Usually stream around 2 p.m. CT Central Time until about 8 p.m. Central Time. And thanks for checking out the video again, and hope to see you guys soon.